Good morning.
Good morning.
And now the sun is shining. It's good to see you after the storm, after the wind and the water, which probably came into some of your houses. And we begin your work of putting life back together again, which is what we do. We go right into the storm, and then we do the work of putting life back together again, of finding the best way to be together, finding the best way to keep finding the pieces, and the best way to help each other out. Keep showing up for each other so that we can remember that we don't have to go through the storm alone. This morning, we are grateful, certainly for sunshine after storms, but also for many of the gifts of community life. One of the teachers about gratitude is David Stendhal-Rost, and he has a line that I hold on to all the time, including in the middle of a storm. And he said, of course you can't be grateful for everything, but you can be grateful in every moment. So let us spend this hour together being grateful in this moment. Doc Nickerson will light our chalice this morning. She may have a little helper in the room. And Doc is kindling a flame under a rainbow of dancing figures. And she created these dancers for us for today. This piece is called Everything is a Dancer. And while the chalice flame joins the dance, I invite you to join in the words of our covenant, which are printed in the order of service. Love is the doctrine of the church. Quest for truth is the sacrament, and service is the prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve humanity in fellowship, to respect the nurturing power within all of us. Thus do we covenant. Some of the gratitude that we get to live into this morning is how things are going with our annual fund and our capital campaign. And so we have the joy of hearing from Denise Short and from Wayne Usage about these this morning. Denise?
Good morning. Good morning. How nice to look at all your smiling faces, especially my daughter Eliza, who figures prominently in my brief discussion of why I pledge to this community and what it means to me. And thinking about talking to you for a few minutes about that, I thought about sort of three different reasons. And the first one is what's happening now, present, the community here. And this is such a special part of my life and my daughter's life. And we've been members here now, gosh, I think 7 or 8 years. And I remember when I first started here, I thought about pledging and all the different reasons why and what different parts of pledging there are. And the money part is the part that I feel most difficult, I guess. But as I've been here for these years and been a part of this community, it's much more natural now, because everything that goes on here and what we do and what I get from this community, that's just a piece, that's just a part of the energy that ebbs and flows between all of us, what we do here and what we do out in the greater community. So that's the first, the present, what, like I said, what goes on here, what I get, and what I'm able to give here with my time and money and pledge as well. And the second reason, I guess, is because I can. I'm so blessed with, you know, I have a job, I have a beautiful home, I have a wonderful family, and part of what I love about that is I'm able to give back. And I apologize to the people who do numbers and things here because I'm such a procrastinator and I have not actually pledged to the capital campaign yet. But I am going to, and also to try and increase my annual pledge as well, because I understand how important both of those things are. So I do it because I can, even though sometimes it's hard. And this year was a little bit harder because Eliza and I had a big, beautiful trip to China to go back and visit her orphanage, and that was wonderful. It was a trip of a lifetime. But it's, you know, it's put me a little behind in terms of my pledge, but that's okay because I'm committed to being here, and I keep doing that. And the third reason, the last reason, is much more abstract because of the long haul. Because there were people here before me who pledged, and there will be people here after who pledge, and you know, I can't always look and see the exact correlation between what I give today and what happens in the future. But actually I do see a lot of that here when I learn about the history of how long we've been here, how this building has been here. And I love that I'm a part of that, and that what I do today is going to bear fruit into the future, and especially for my daughter and her generation and future generations. So thank you for everything that you have given me as being a part of this community, and I hope that I'm lucky enough to be able to continue to give back to you. Thanks.
Thank you, Denise. Good morning. My name is Wayne Lucigian, and I'd like to welcome you to Commitment Sunday.
Speaking of commitments, hello! I was here before and I'm here again to thank all of you who have pledged to the capital campaign, who are pledging to the annual fund. It's about time you got out of the mud. You've been stuck in the mud. This building needs some help. Come on, let's do it. All right? Come on, let's do it, right? Right. I gave the land and a whole big bunch of money for a beautiful church that was built out on that lawn. It was the most gorgeous church you could ever imagine. And I believe in Unitarianism. Yes. Where's Skippy? Hi, Skippy. Nice to see you. Where's your line?
You look familiar.
You're not as polished as Skippy and I were. No, I don't believe I know you, actually. Did you work in Gilman House?
I did, actually, for 29 years.
That's the house I lived in. I am the ghost of Gilman House. So we might have bumped into each other now and then in Gilman House. Anyway, yeah, you don't look so familiar, but I'm here to thank all of you for following in my footsteps of being so generous to this church. I think Denise actually said something about the history, and that was a great segue for me because I believe that my gift and my donation has kept on giving all these years. You can be confident that your gift will do the same thing. And speaking of familiarity, you could use a little help here. There. Don't you think that's an improvement? Capital. Okay. Nice to see you all. Thank you so much for your commitment to saving this church.
Thank you, Mary. Say hi to Laura when you see her. How do I top that? Well, here's the update on first the capital campaign. I'll also be speaking about the annual fund. But first for capital, as I think you all know, our goal was $375,000. And I'm delighted to tell you that as of yesterday, we had 46 donors for $382,000. 25 of those donors gave gifts of $5,000 or more. Not everybody can give that amount of money. So for those of you who have not yet given, I ask you to give as generously as possible to the capital as well as to the annual. Why give to the capital? Because remember that 375 is based on a contractor's thought that the renovation would cost that amount of money. I don't know about you, but I know I've done some house renovations in the past, and the money that the contractor said it would cost, it was always more, and I suspect this will cost more than $375,000. The other reason for continuing to give, again, I'm speaking to those folks who have not yet made that commitment. If we do in fact fund all those renovations, there's plenty to do in this space. We've already talked about that. So if there's additional dollars from the renovation out back, we're talking about acoustics, we're talking about energy conservation, so insulation in walls, improved windows. Those are all things that are needs for this church. So my hope is that we can take care of all that we plan to out back and do some work in here as well. Our other goal for capital, of course, is participation. And I mentioned at the beginning we had 46 donors. We've got a lot more people that are involved with FUUSE who have not yet given. So if you're one of them, again, I encourage you to take the pledge forms that are in your program and fill them out with as generous a commitment as possible. Remember the capital campaign, you can extend your payments for 3 or 4 years if that's your desire. On to the annual fund. Its goal is $225,000, which is a slight increase over what we raised last year. And again, as of yesterday, we're at $95,000. So unlike the capital campaign, the annual fund still has a way to go to meet its projected budget. And that happens to be from 38 donors compared to 126 donors from the prior year. So again, there are lots of folks who give to the annual who haven't given yet. I encourage you to do so. What does the annual fund do? Well, it pays for the lights, it heats the building, it's the general maintenance for the buildings that we own. But more important to me, it's programs and it's people. It's Yvonne, it's Lindsay Jean, it's Musical Mary, and of course our beloved Kendra. The annual fund use of those dollars is for compensating these 4 wonderful professionals. So when you write out that commitment to the annual fund, think of those 4 people I just mentioned. Thank you very much.
Now let us sing. Our opening hymn, hymn 368. Now let us sing. One of the most important practices, certainly when we're talking about our history and our present work of funding our community life, but truly always, gratitude. Gratitude is the foundation of almost all religions and spiritual practices in the world. It is a stable place to start almost any endeavor. To spend a few moments noticing what you are grateful for. Gratitude is an antidote to anxiety, despair, isolation. It is also the deepest way to celebrate and honor each other in this world. So on this Commitment Sunday, and in this moment when the world around us can seem difficult and uncertain, I invite you to practice gratitude and for us to do it together. So we're going to take a few minutes here together to express some gratitude, perhaps in writing. I think you have all received some little thank you notes. And if you haven't, or you discovered any more, we have more. I invite you to write down your gratitude, and then we're going to hang it on the walls. You can see we've set up lines with clothespins so that we can hang things up on the walls. And if we fill up all those lines with gratitude, then we'll put them in the windowsills. And if we fill up all the windowsills, then we'll just pass the gratitude around, hand to hand. Let us surround ourselves with gratitude. You can write words, you can draw pictures. If you don't want to write, you can just sit here and be in your gratitude. You can write a note to your first grade teacher. You can write a note to your great-great-great-grandmother who you never met. You can write a note to the trees that are around us all the time, especially the ones that stood through the storm. You can write one thank you note. You can write 7 thank you notes. Denise has more paper right in the back.
If anybody wants.
So we'll take a couple of moments in stillness together. And then there will be a few moments in the service when you can post them. So the offering time will follow this gratitude time, and you're welcome to put your thank you notes up then. And I'll invite you a couple of other times if you want to get up and hang up your gratitude on the walls or put it in the windows to do that. So we'll have these moments now for gratitude, and if it keeps springing up in your heart for the rest of the service, keep writing. And the ushers do have some more pieces of paper in the back. We'll take a few moments to reflect and write our gratitude for this moment, for this congregation, for this life. Gratitude. And as more gratitude rises in you, please do check the ushers are going to jing at the back. And there's quite a bit of paper tucked into the hymnal racks as well, if there's more gratitude you want to express. We are celebrating many things about this congregation this morning. This morning is Commitment Sunday, the day when we are trying to complete our asking for money part of our church year. It's important that we be able to talk openly and honestly about money, about how we do things and why we do things here. And it's also good for us to make commitments and decisions about money so that that conversation about money doesn't take up more space in our communal life than we want it to. So that's why we're asking people to make their commitments today, so that that conversation can be done. And then we can move on to all of the other conversations that we want to have, all of the other plans we want to make, all of the other gratitude we want to give in the world. So first and foremost to the annual fund, because that is how we support the week-to-week, month-to-month work and celebration of this community. And it's how we begin to make our plans, how we begin to see ourselves into the future, which is what the capital campaign is about supporting this space and our presence in this town. So let's plant seeds today for a fruitful future, both next year and the next decade. There are candles available up front, of course, in these places up front, and there will be one more candle bowl right down here on the floor. You may not be able to see it. I'm moving it because our choir will be singing during our offering time, and at the end of the offering time, the choir will lead us in a slightly different dedication of the offering. The words are printed in the order of service as they always are, but they're different words I think you'll recognize. But we're going to sing it as a call and response. So the choir will sing the call and Nancy Fisk will lead that response at the end of the offering time. I invite you to continue to write your gratitude, to light candles for a memory, a hope, a vision. And if you are ready to start to surround us with gratitude and put your gratitude on the walls, please do that during this time. The morning offering for the deep roots and the broad branches of this congregation will now be received.
seed in the ground. If you got the sun and if you got the rain, and you plant a little seed in the old back lane, and you wish and you hope and you keep the weeds down, you might find, oh, you might find a seed growing out from the flower, from the stem, from the shoot, from the root, from the seed in the ground.
I invite you into a time of meditation with one of the most fundamental gratitude meditations. It's a meditation to remember to be in and be grateful for our bodies. And I'm aware that anytime you do a gratitude meditation with your body, that some people will be thinking, not today. So if that's you, if this isn't a moment that you're feeling particularly grateful about your body, you can try this meditation with us, or you cannot. The other thing that happens sometimes, if you are feeling like not today, and we start to do gratitude, you may notice that tears come up. And some of you will remember that for a while, the other name of our congregation was the Church of the Good Cry. And so crying is a fantastic meditation practice because it lets you let go of whatever feelings are getting in the way of you being able to be in the moment that we're in. So if that happens, that's fine. And I want you all to know that that happens every week. I can see that. You mostly don't see that there are people crying every week in church, that it's part of church life. So you know, part of the gratitude is that this is a place where that's all right. And if you just don't want to do this gratitude for your body thing, I invite you to return to the other gratitude practice that we have been in this morning, which is to think of people, moments, other beings who are not people, for whom you are grateful. You might want to continue to write those down. You might just let them come through your mind. And notice that although you can't indeed be grateful for everything, you can find gratitude to hold you in every moment, even the stormiest moments. So with all of that, I invite you into a simple gratitude for the body practice. And I'll start us out so that you get the pattern of it. Some of you have done this meditation practice before. And then I'll go into quiet and let you complete it in your own minds. The practice is simply to start at your feet and notice your body from your feet all the way up to the top of your head and then out to the ends of your fingers. And to pause, maybe even especially in those spots that hurt. Notice your body and thank your body for carrying you here today, for bringing you to this moment, for the wonder that it is in all its imperfections. So I'll start us at our feet, and then I'll let you move around your body in your own awareness and in your own time in a couple of minutes of quiet. But notice your feet. Maybe they're touching the ground. Maybe your feet don't touch the ground when you sit in a pew. Notice that they maybe hurt, maybe feel good this morning. For many of us, they carried us in the door, over the threshold to be here. Whatever they have done to bring you to this moment, notice that and thank them. You might notice your legs. just as they are, maybe aching, maybe restless. They too have carried you to this moment. Thank them for what they have done in your life. And I invite you to notice the rest of your body, step by step. Thank each part of your body that has brought you here. All of the gratitude that we are noticing and expressing this morning, you may find that you are partway into your thought, into your noticing of your own being, and we haven't left the time that you need for your practice. Please take any moment of quiet or music to keep your gratitude going. We are grateful for the community that holds us, that reminds us that we are not alone, that reminds us that we can keep searching for gratitude even when it's stormy. Joys and sorrows is one of the ways that we pause to notice the fullness of life unfolding, both in our own experience and in our collective experience. So I invite you to come and share those stories. And before we listen to the speaking, let's take a breath together and notice that we may not be able to be grateful for everything that happens. And in fact, it doesn't make sense to try to be. But that together we can be grateful in this moment. Grateful for what you have to share.
Hello, my name is Tommy Hayes, and I have both a joy and a sorrow. My joy is yesterday I was in a fencing tournament and I was going to the blooming group. And my sorrow was I kind of got stabbed in the hand right here during the fencing tournament.
We're missing two of our male friends. Tony Tufts has had knee surgery, so I don't know when we'll see him back, Annie. Dan Hummel has had some reconstructive surgery on his face and is hiding out until that process is finished. And he has just learned that he's going to be having neck surgery in 2 weeks. So hopefully we'll see Dan in April. But a card would be nice.
Lori and I have been members of this church for 30 years, and as Mercy mentioned, I think last week, there were times in those early years that we thought we might not continue to exist. The number of people in the pews were down, the amount of money raised for the annual fund was down. So I have to tell you that with a great joy,
today has been. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Roy. For those who haven't been through it, the food that's going around is a whopper. Knocked me on my butt for that. So I'm very grateful for medical science and for my body's ability to heal.
Hi, I'm Heather Crowley, and I have a sorrow today. I'm going to try to be discreet. This person doesn't go to this church, but I think he's well known in some community circles in Exeter. So he's a friend of mine. He's a big part of beautifying my art. And we found out last week that the cancer that he's been battling has spread to his brain. And I would ask that you hold him in your prayers. His name is Bob. And I'm just really sad about the whole situation, so.
You have shared with us, and we hold space in this community for all that is said and all that goes unsaid. You know that this room is brimming with stories, with joy and sorrow and changes that we are navigating, and we honor all that is unfolding in each other's hearts and lives.
Taking stock of what I have and what I haven't. What do I find? The things I have will keep me satisfied. Checking up on what I have and what I haven't. What do I find? A healthy balance on the credit side.
have some more gratitude that you would like to hang on the walls around us, this is a moment that you could put it up. And after the service is good too. Well, the folks who've been members here for 30 years or more, as Wayne said during Joys and Sorrows, know that there was a time in the 1980s when this congregation was on the verge of dissolving. There just weren't enough people here. And since then, those people who were here then have steadfastly built and rebuilt, tended, nurtured, pruned, cajoled, cheered, and celebrated this congregation into something more, into this full circle, into not 30 people, but more than 200 people. They planted a seed in the ground, and now that seed has grown into a tree that is bearing fruit. And I think it's time to plant again. When Mary Gilman gave the money to build a church here 150 years ago, this congregation was a lively place. And since then, it has had its ups and downs, most notably in 1942 when they decided to tear down that church building that was built with Mary's money. That's why we have that empty lot. It was more than they thought they could maintain. And since then, I think there has been a story in this congregation. We don't have enough. That we have to figure out how to make do. And this congregation has gotten through some rough times by being resourceful and making do. And well, maybe since the mid-80s, when it was right at the edge there, another story has been slowly taking root. It is the story of abundance. Abundance sometimes sounds like having too much, like fruit overflowing, it's too much, you can't eat it all. Fields of flowers, that there are just too many of them. But I have come to think of abundance, particularly when I think of it as a spiritual practice, in a slightly different way. Abundance means having enough to share. Doesn't have to be a lot, in fact. The sun and the moon, just one each of those, and yet they make everything possible. So this new story of abundance means that we have enough. That we can share our community, that we can share our sense of purpose and mission in the world. We can share our space. We can share our possibility, share our love. Now, when you say the word abundant in church, you have to grapple a little bit with this idea that is out there in the world called prosperity theology. And there's a church, I think it's the Abundant Life Church, that talks about this a lot. So this is a new version of an old theology that if you were chosen by God, it will show up in your life as material prosperity. Which is to say, there was a group of people in our country a long time ago who taught that if God loved you, it would show up in you having a nice farm and nice clothes. Well, our Universalist ancestors said, now this is an important theological term, our Universalist ancestors said that that was who. And this idea is still taught in some churches and New Age philosophies today. And people in our country still judge each other in this way. All the time. We do it ourselves. Even though our Universalist ancestors suggested another way. And so it is our work to remember that love is not something that gets passed out to a few people. That love is abundant. That there is always enough to share. So I hope that our capital campaign is, well, it's already been wildly successful, but I hope it's even more wildly successful so that we can do even more repairs and updates to our buildings, start working on this space that we've now circled with gratitude. And so that we can share these buildings with even more people doing good things, so that we can use these buildings for doing even more good things. And most of all, I hope that the success of the campaign helps us remember that we are indeed living in this new story. We are in a story of abundance. We have more than enough to share. Our singing. Hymn 1014 is called Standing on the Side of Love. And some people noticed that some people singing the song can't in fact stand. And so some of them changed the words to Answering the Call of Love. This is our Unitarian Universalist way. Find the words that make this indeed sing for you and join in hymn 1014. Please join in the unison benediction. The words are printed in order of service or on your heart. Go. Seek truth, give thanks each day, respect the earth and all creatures, for they are alive like you. Care for your body, it is a wondrous gift. Be gentle with yourself, live simply, be of service, be guided by your faith, and not your fear. Go lightly on your way. Walk in a sacred manner.